Did you know that 90% of executives have no idea about their team's AI capabilities? In this eye-opening video, we're going to dive into the alarming disconnect between AI ambitions and workforce readiness, and you're going to discover why companies are falling behind. What does it mean for your career? Don't be caught off guard. The AI revolution is here, and you need to be prepared. I'm Evan Golden, a licensed professional engineer, and I'm a data scientist. I'm building the AI Capitalist channel to help leaders like you master the knowledge that you need to drive profits. I checked out 5 reports from the big 4 business consulting firms and some other big name consulting firms on AI training and reskilling. So in my own off YouTube work life, I've seen cases where the management comes in with, or CTOs come in with new AI projects. A few engineers will start chatting about it and asking, is this just another fad? Is this real? Some of them felt like the leadership should really just nail down the basics before they dive into any fancy innovations. So is this a one-off thing, or is this more of a trend in companies everywhere? Do your CXOs actually get what needs to happen, or are they just throwing around buzzwords to keep the board happy? I'm all in about digging into the stats and the trends around growing talent, reskilling, upskilling, and all the while AI is shaking things up. What I found are some pretty eye-opening insights into the day-to-day struggles and missteps the companies face when it comes to reskilling their workforce and how ready or not they are for tech advancements. Here's the scoop on the 5 reports that we're looking at in this video. I should mention that the variety in these reports shows the limits of what survey responses can tell us, and this cross-report review has its own set of challenges. I'll post a list of articles we're using in the description of this video. Now, the results have been pretty concerning, to put it mildly. It's a real head-scratcher. Everyone's buzzing about tech changes coming our way, but when it comes to actually doing something about reskilling, training employees and figuring out what skills people already have, not much is happening. So I want to highlight the 3 big areas where people say one thing but are doing another. First one, there's a big gap between saying we value reskilling and actually making that happen. So there's a total fog over what skills employees have and how ready they are for AI. People often feel overconfident about their AI skills, but the truth is, real experience tells a different story. The reskilling dilemma is people know what's crucial, but they're not doing anything about it. It's like the emperor's new clothes spin on reskilling employees for the AI challenge. Even though tons of CEOs get that reskilling their teams is super important, not many actually have a game plan. And when you look at how many have specific budgets or policies in place for reskilling, those numbers are just very low. So did you know that 90% of CXOs think that the AI revolution is super important for their own companies? And a report from Pluralsight shows that 95% of execs believe that AI initiatives are doomed to fail unless they've got staff who know how to actually implement those AI tools. And the Deloitte study reveals that places claiming that they have around 70% of very high expertise in generative AI are making an effort to teach their entire workforce to boost the generative AI skills. They're also reskilling workers to tackle how generative AI is shaking up their jobs. The surveys also reveal that leaders and as well as IT professionals, they both think that the best way that organizations can move forward is by investing in talent, training, and culture to get ready for the new wave of AI tech and tools. But only half of them are planning for AI reskilling actions. Even though the executives and IT folks both think that putting money into talent, training, and company culture is key to getting ready for the new wave of AI tech, 80% of executives admit that their companies often jump into new tech without even thinking about training their employees who actually need to use the technology. So the Deloitte report found that about 72% of leaders think that AI is going to shake up how they manage talent very soon, but less than half of them are actually teaching their employees how to use AI in talent acquisition. This really highlights the gap between expecting AI to make waves and actually putting learning programs into action. A lot of CEOs think that it's all on HR to handle the reskilling, not them. According to a BCG study, less than 15% of leaders see learning as a key part of their company's game plan. For many organizations nowadays, building skills is seen as more of an HR project rather than something that's closely linked to the overall business strategy. A BCG study found that just 24% of companies actually connect the dots between their business and strategy and their reskilling efforts. And it gets worse. Only a few companies actually have a solid plan to figure out the skills that they're missing based on what their business needs are. This just shows that there's a big gap in how companies are thinking about and investing in keeping their teams ready for the future. When we don't really know what our employees' AI skills are, like how ready they are, it can be a real hassle to figure out just where to spend our budget and to build a solid reskilling plan. So to deal with this, we should kick things off by creating a team that focuses on looking into how AI is affecting us and spotting any skills that we're missing. That's step one. After that, step two, we've got to make sure that our talent and reskilling goals are in line with the big picture of what our company is trying to achieve. We really need to put together a solid AI reskilling game plan that pulls in different departments, and it has some clear ways to track our progress. Focusing on the important stuff like product development is going to help us maximize our impact. To build a culture where learning never stops, let's lead by example and give props to those who level up their skills and celebrate our wins as we go. So the Pluralsight report said that a whopping 90% of executives are pretty clueless about their... The Pluralsight report says that a whopping 90% of executives are pretty clueless about their team's AI skills and how good they really are. And the McKinsey report said that with all the cool stuff happening lately, AI has just gone from being a techie thing to something that's on. Almost 1 in 4 C-suite executives say that they actually use generative AI tools at work. And it really gets me thinking, like, how can these top executives chat about AI without actually using it in their day-to-day jobs? So we also see that 81% of IT professionals think that they can totally handle adding AI into their jobs, but only 12% have actually racked up enough real experience working with it. Now, a lot of companies are totally underestimating how crucial it is to really invest in reskilling their teams, even though they know that they need to keep up with all these tech changes happening all around us. Companies face a bunch of challenges when trying to roll out effective skills development programs. For starters, 42% struggle to find the right training, and 49% worry if the training actually matches up with the AI tools they're using, and 48% run into issues just getting the budget together. So McKinsey says that about 30% of companies don't think that they'll see much change in their workforce size. When it comes to needing some serious reskilling, 38% of them are anticipating that more than 20% of their workers are going to need to level up their skills. Now, reskilling can be divided between the go-getters versus everyone else. According to the McKinsey report, a solid 73% of AI hotshots are all set to give over 30% of the team skills makeover. Only 14% of folks from other companies are on board with reskilling that many of their employees. So let's look at the gap between what we say we need versus what we actually do in reskilling. The BCG report highlights a pretty big gap between how vital reskilling is seen and how much cash companies are actually putting into the training. So what are some of the reasons for this mismatch? Do any of these things ring a bell for you? Training is seen as a cost, not a boost. A lot of folks think that skill building is just another bill rather than a smart investment in what we can do down the line, which really downplays how important it is for the big picture. There's also very little financial reporting and strategy talk. It turns out that only 36% of companies actually keep track of their skill building resources. Most of the time, they treat it like it's just another expense instead of looking at the bigger picture, which totally misses out on showing the potential return on investment. And if you feel that you're getting value from this episode, please press the like button. Pressing helps me know that I'm making content that you want to see, and it helps spread that content to others. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart for your support. There's also a lack of strong KPIs, so things get tough when there's no solid way to track and assess what's actually working and ramp up the successful parts of reskilling programs. Another problem is that there's a lot of confidence in wishful thinking. Leaders tend to think that they're way more prepared than they actually are, and they overlook the hurdles that come with rolling out AI tech, especially when it comes to the amount of reskilling that they're going to need to do. Furthermore, companies tend to look for short-term wins versus long-term gains. In the workplace, everyone's so focused on hitting short-term goals that long-term plans get pushed aside. We know reskilling is important, but there just aren't enough resources or a solid game plan to make it happen. Budget cuts are tough, and when companies are starting to tighten their belts, training budgets are usually the first thing that gets slashed, since so many people see them as another expense. And this has become really true in 2024. So it looks like there's been a big disconnect in how crucial companies say reskilling and upskilling are and what they're actually doing about it. Some money is going towards skill building efforts, but when you take a step back, it seems like organizations aren't really putting their money where their mouth is. The way they manage these budgets often doesn't match up with what they claim they want to achieve to get their teams ready for the future.